Hey YouTube, what's going on? Back down here in my shop. So, running my crate earlier. Noticed my set screw fall out of the pinion gear. It didn't fall out, just loosened up, but got that taken care of. That truck's still doing great. Here. I don't know, you guys may have seen this in the background of another video. I've got a Traxxas Rustler 4x4 VXL. I'm going to tell you a thing or two about the Traxxas Rustler. How to make a good Traxxas Rustler. First off, Traxxas claims 65 plus miles an hour. Not possible. If you look at speed control, oh, it's a 3S system. No, it's not. If you gear the thing to do 65 and run a 3S battery, it'll overheat in about 5 minutes and shut down on you. That's not fun. Traxxas recommends you leave the 11-tooth pinion in it and run a 2S battery. Well, at that point, you got a 30-mile-an-hour car, and you can go get one of those for about $150. So why would you pay $400 for that? I got suckered. So here's how you make a good Traxxas Rustler. You take the Rustler 4x4 VXL, and you get rid of everything that's Traxxas in it. Everything. Castle Creations. This is a 3800 kV 1410, which I'm going to be upgrading. I'm going to go with an 8th scale one. I'm going to try and do this for speed runs. Get yourself a nice Mamba speed control. Get rid of the Traxxas axles, and don't buy the CVD axles from Traxxas, the $70 a set axles, because they break just like the stock plastic ones do. So instead you pay $80 and you get a whole set of Technos for the whole set, not just two, and those axles hold up great. You replace the shocks. Now these are actually a cheap pair off of Amazon, and they work great. I don't have them on the front right now because I lost one of my spring perches. You get rid of the tires and you get yourself some nice Pro-Line trenchers. And the reason I got rid of the tires is because the tires, the stock Traxxas tires, don't stay together. See this? That's one. Okay. There's two. And number 3. The tires blow apart. They're garbage. So, you get yourself some good tires, like some, I love the Pro-Lines. Pro-Line, I think, makes really nice tires. They got the trenchers on there with the Raid wheels. And I got rid of the, I don't know if you can see it on this one. I've got an aftermarket servo in there. It's an all-metal gear servo, because the Traxxas one quit working after about a week. My next thing to do on this is to get rid of all these junk Traxxas camber links and tie rods. I'm going to go with Lunsford because they are titanium. They won't break. And the only thing in here that I'm going to keep Traxxas is the control arms, front and rear, because Techno recommends to use those for their axles. They say don't use the RPM ones because they've got too much flex to them and they can damage the axles. And the radial system. Other than that, I will never buy another Traxxas. I've had many Traxxas vehicles in the past. I've had T-Maxes. I've had Revos. I've had Vortex. I had a couple of two-wheel drive Rustlers, both nitro and brushless. They were all great. I don't know what happened to Traxxas. They fell off. The chassis holds up good. It's just a plastic chassis. I guess you can't really go too wrong with it. Their control arms hold up pretty good. But other than that, that's what you got to do. You buy this thing for $400. You go out and you spend roughly another $400, $500 in parts, and you can actually have a pretty decent little car then. But as far as Traxxas, like I said, I will never buy another Traxxas. They used to have good customer service. Now they're a bunch of snotty people. You know, they're going to try and talk to me like I'm new to this hobby. I've been in this hobby for about 35 years. I understand parts wear down, they break, and there's some replacements. But 2 months after having this thing, I've spent, including all the Traxxas, actual Traxxas parts that I bought to fix this thing, I've probably spent about $800 to $1,000, not including the price of the car and the batteries and the charger. That's just in parts. You know, I don't know how many axles I went through before I finally found out about these Technos. I don't know. Well, obviously I went through quite a few sets of tires. The shocks, you got to watch these stock shocks because these caps break. These caps right here, they'll rip right off. Now Traxxas sells some aluminum caps that you can get, but it's a plastic shock body, so the cap is still going to rip right off. You can go and you can buy the Traxxas big bore aluminum shocks for like $70, and they don't come with springs. So I mean, it's not even a complete shock set. You know. Now by going with the Techno axles, I used to have the aluminum hub carriers front and rear. When you go with the Technos, you have to run these plastic ones because the Techno axles come with larger bearings, which is nice. Now for the front, you can see in there also, that's also a plastic one in there. For the front, you can actually go and get the aluminum hub carriers for the XO1, and they'll work with these Techno axles. But the rear ones, you have to use their plastic parts. But the Techno pieces are very nice pieces. They're nice, thick. You know, they're pretty beefy pieces. Especially, I mean, they're much thicker than the stock plastic ones that come on them. But hopefully this car here, the next time this car is on my channel, it will be up and running again. I've pretty much rebuilt the whole front end of it because everything just breaks on it. And you know, I got these fans here. Now this fan and this fan, this is not the Mamba fan. This one's called a Rocket, and this is a Nitro Hobbies. These fans run at 28,000 RPM, and I tell you what, they do an amazing job cooling this thing. This motor, I've got a 19-tooth pinion on here, and I can run 3S with this setup with these fans all day long, and the thing barely gets warm. This truck here, I've had this thing for probably 3 weeks now, and the only part that I've had break on it was an upper control arm pin, which cost me $6 for a new pair of them. Other than that, I've had no issues. I did have a blowout with one of my tires, but I had beat the tires there, and the tires were pretty beat up, and you know, I'd been bombing around with them, and I ended up ripping a sidewall out. I hit something at the track and ripped the sidewall on it. But other than that, if you are going to buy a Traxxas, just be prepared to spend a lot of money, because the car is just going to break and break and break. You know, I'm sorry if you guys out there might like Traxxas. You know, like I said, I used to be a big fan of Traxxas. I've had many Traxxas vehicles over the past few years, and their customer service used to be great. But after having this, and I'm still dealing with Traxxas on it, I've filed a complaint with the Better Business Bureau, and they've pretty much said, you know, they've pretty much told the Better Business Bureau to tell me where I can go. So that's going to be all for today. Thank you. Hit the like and subscribe. If you got any comments, feel free to leave them. I usually, if you have any questions, I'm usually pretty quick to answer them. So that's my video for the day. Have a good one.